Some fan favorites return to Critical Role, a massive Calamity cameo in the Legend of Vox Machina Season 3, and Henry Cavill has a new sci-fi project that isn't his Warhammer 40k series.
I am so happy right now!
Welcome to Fantasy News Friday on the Character Sheet, your home for all the week's biggest TTRPG and fantasy news. Today we're talking the long-awaited return of some fan favorites on Critical Role, the new RPG that could succeed Baldur's Gate 3 as the game of the year, and Henry Cavill signing on for a surprising new sci-fi project. So why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep making these videos, and then let's dive into the news.
Cannonball!
Critical Role finally pulled the trigger on the return of the Mighty Nine at the very end of their latest episode, which of course ended in wonderful chaos with the cast playing both their Bell's Hells and Mighty Nine characters at the same time.
With you, I'm Pirate Jester.
Oh my god.
Jester, you don't have to be a
best
pirate every
cleric,
time.
the most wonderful traveler that ever lived, and
she's a
basically
princess
the
and a
ruler of all of
professor.
this.
Is this what it's like meeting us?
This marks the beginning of what is likely to be the Mighty Nine branch of the end of Campaign 3, as they make their way to take on the Weavemind and their forces up on Ruidus. And the chat was of course going wild as the entire Mighty Nine cast finally showed up, including Sam returning as Veth once again, instead of playing her son Luke, which we saw last time with Mighty Nine Echoes of the Solstice. So of course we got to see Sam as Veth get all hot and bothered by Sam as Breath, the sexy Minotaur.
No minotaurs are her weakness.
We also got confirmation that Taliesin would be playing Caduceus, not Kingsley, for this go-round as well, so we get the full original Mighty Nine lineup, minus Mollymock, for the upcoming adventure, and the fans were definitely here for it. So while the table is now set for the Mighty Nine episodes of Campaign 3, we also got some huge confirmations from Matt in the episode about the fate of Exandria, and it's looking basically like no matter what happens, we are heading for some kind of massive world-altering calamity. Ashton found a way to commune with the Titans, and in his vision he was basically told that everything was a cycle, and that Exandria would be remade and reforged, and mortals would either survive or be reforged into something that would survive. Ashton seemed to take a rather biased view on that information given his, feelings on the gods, claiming he had talked to Exandria itself and that the world told him it was time for more chaos. But now we basically have the gods and the Titans confirming massive changes are headed to Exandria, with both sides talking about cataclysms and cycles, which heavily implies we are heading to the end of this cycle of Exandria, with the brand new cycle starting for Campaign 4. Now that could mean a split campaign, or just a complete move over to a Daggerheart-based Exandria, but massive change is coming. Besides that, we also got even more confirmation that Critical Role was purging all D&D IP from the world of Exandria, as Matt went out of his way to only refer to Vecna as the Whispered One, even when they were exploring the remains of the Titan he used in his ritual. So it seems like this fresh cycle where they can put the old gods and even old characters like Vecna fully behind them seems to be where Campaign 3 is heading. And Matt Mercer cannot contain his glee at bringing back the Mighty Nine for their own adventure, although they will be sharing the spotlight for at least part of the next episode before they split off from Bell's Hells to finish their infiltration mission. Oh, and as for the Vox Machina episodes, Matt once again mentioned, as Keyleth, that they were having trouble locating Scanlan, so expect the Vox Machina episodes to happen after we get a run-through of the Mighty Nine's adventures on the moon. And if you're wondering how the viewership was, the rush of people jumping onto Beacon TV to watch the cooldown as soon as the episode ended with the return of the Mighty Nine was so great it slowed the site down to a crawl for several minutes, so clearly fans are ready for this and love to see the Mighty Nine back.
It's all been leading up to this.
The Legend of Vox Machina Season 3 is rewriting history by bringing back a fan favorite from EXU Calamity into the story. The latest episodes of Vox Machina Season 3 saw Luis Carrazzo return as his character Xerxes Illarez, who seems to still be suffering from the decisions he made to become the champion of Asmodeus after the Lord of Hells tricked and betrayed him, and sad to say that redemption he was hoping for still seems to be eluding him even after 1,000 years. And not only was Zerxus brought into the story of Vox Machina, he was given a pivotal scene with Pike, who is also having a bit of her history rewritten, as Ashley of course missed big chunks of the original actual play, and the cast now seem to be filling in the gaps with Season 3. Pike and Zerxus engage in a duel over cards where we see that Zerxus is still suffering from the choices he made so long ago, and he even recounted his tale from EXU Calamity, where we learn that Zerxus blamed the brass ring for the calamity and the death of his family, and basically condemning him to watch the remains of his family die and grow old and forget all about him. And after being tricked into lying by Pike, we found out his existence was even sadder than we thought, as he still wished his family was here with him in hell, suffering alongside him. It was an amazing return for Luis Carrazzo and his character, and we hope it's not the last time we see Zerxus, and maybe this means he can finally find his redemption in Campaign 3 if his tormentor, the Lord of Hells, is driven from Exandria.
But there is no difference between the gods above and below. They all lie!
Henry Cavill has signed up for a new sci-fi movie, and it isn't his Warhammer 40k project with Prime Video. Instead, Cavill will be joining the cast of the upcoming live-action Voltron movie, and while his specific role has not been released, given the age of most of the Voltron pilots, which are all in their very early 20s, we think that there's a small chance he could play Shiro, the oldest member of Team Voltron, from the Voltron Legendary Defenders version of the show on Netflix. It's more likely he once again takes on the role of a white-haired swordsman by playing either Prince Lotor, or possibly even his father and the true big bad of Voltron, Emperor Zarkon. Either way, we're pretty sure he's playing one of the iconic Voltron villains, and it's yet another geeky dream project for Henry Cavill. We just hope this Voltron casting doesn't mean more delays for his hotly anticipated Warhammer 40k series on Amazon to finally start production.
It's time for me to actually sort this out myself.
Worlds Beyond Number, the massively popular actual play podcast starring Brennan Mulligan, Aabria Iyengar, Erica Ishii, and Lou Wilson, has announced a huge change in a new video the team has released to YouTube. While they have just begun the 4th arc of their hit campaign, The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One, the cast has revealed this would be the final arc of that series for quite some time, with Worlds Beyond Number changing both its setting and its GM after this arc completes. After the 4th arc of this current campaign concludes, the Worlds Beyond Number team is putting the campaign on a major hiatus as Aabria takes over for Brennan as the new GM, and the cast prepares for a brand new sci-fi based campaign. No word on which system the game will use for this new sci-fi campaign, but as huge fans of Dimension 20's Starstruck Odyssey, we can't wait to see Brennan and the crew back in space for more intergalactic adventures, even if it means the end, for now at least, of The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One.
It's time to start exploring these supposed worlds that are beyond number.
And finally is another fantasy video game set to scoop up most of 2024's Game of the Year awards, after Baldur's Gate 3 took home almost all the hardware back in 2023. Metaphor ReFantazio keeps jumping back and forth between a 93 and a 94 on Metacritic, tying it with Astrobot for the best reviewed game of the year, and just barely ahead of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The new game, which was created by the Persona 5 team and shares many features of that massively popular RPG, just ported into a more traditional fantasy-based setting, has been getting universal praise for its incredibly deep story and amazing combat and character progression systems, refining all those elements that made Persona 5 so popular, and then tossing them into a deeply political and nuanced storyline that would be right at home with some of the best seasons of Game of Thrones. And much like Persona 5 and Baldur's Gate 3 before it, this is an RPG that will eat up hundreds of hours of your time, as you have incredibly varied options for upgrading your character, your party, and all of their abilities, and it's all set in a fun and engaging tactical turn-based combat system that's interesting but still approachable for even new players. So if you are looking for your next RPG addiction, Metaphor ReFantazio is available now on PS5, Steam, and Xbox. So say goodbye to your friends and family for a few weeks and grab your copy today. That's all we have for this week's Fantasy News Friday. Let us know what segment was your favorite in the comment section, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.